Everybody, it's 9 o'clock, we're gonna be starting. Yeah. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it's 9 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order. Esther, can you take roll, please?
In attendance, we have Chair Don Mende, Vice Chair Gary Mackler, Directors Sean Sasaki, Carol Ryman, Louis Salavera, and James Tokioka.
All right, thank you, and I don't see any directors virtually attending right now, right? Okay, all right, thank you, Essa. Item 2, approval for the minutes, and I guess let's start with the item A, the regular meeting minutes for May 11th. Can I get a motion to accept?
So move, Chair.
Second. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Oh.
Oh, I guess that's the record, so Nani Maderas walked in, so please in attendance. All right, okay, so for items B through D, executive session minutes for March 9th, March 20th, and March 31st. I guess if there is any discussion, we'll go to the executive session to go over those discussions, but if not, can I get a motion to approve those? Move to approve. Gary?
Second.
Is there any discussion for the executive session minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. So item 2E and F, executive session minutes for April 13th and May 11th. They're not ready right now, so we're gonna defer that to the next meeting. Okay, Bill, I guess before we get into the action items, can you go over the rules for public testimony, please?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Anyone wishing to present oral testimony should indicate so to the chair. Oral testimony will be limited to 3 minutes, subject to the discretion of the chair. Your testimony must be related to an item on the board agenda. Before you begin your testimony, we ask that you identify yourself and spell your name for the record. After 3 minutes, I will call time, after which you will have 15 seconds to conclude your testimony. Keep in mind that this is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts with us. If you ask questions during your testimony, neither the board nor the staff is required to provide an answer. Anyone wishing to submit written testimony, instructions for doing so are on the front page of the agenda under the section titled Public Testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, moving on to item number 3A. This is to approve an extension to resolution number 157, which provides for official intent with respect to the issuance of Google Bay multi-family tax exempt revenue bonds for the Lico Island project located in IAM or KMK 19990780006. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second. Thank you. All right, I guess, is there anyone that wants to give any public testimony for this agenda item? All right.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Hollywood Eco Highlands is a 140 unit project for the elderly in Aiea, Oahu. This project consists of studios, 1-bedroom units serving 30, 50, and 60% AMI renters with an affordability commitment of 60 years. The project was originally awarded on July 8th, 2021. At the time, they were awarded $26,750,000 in tax exempt HMMF bonds, $1,919,262 in federal LIHTC over 10 years and state LIHTC over 5 years, as well as an RHRF loan of $23,792,353. An extension to the deadline to issue bonds until July 8th, 2022 was granted by the board at the May 12th, 2022 board meeting. We are now seeking an extension to December 31st, 2023. The project has received its will be receiving its permits by the end of the month. The target financial closing will be in August and beginning construction shortly thereafter. with completion of the project targeted in Q3 2025. A slightly longer timeline for construction is due to resource limitations by the subcontractors, additional DOH requirements, and additional required infrastructure work. Bond calls should be commencing in June upon receipt of the final permits. Final bond issuance at closing is subject to the availability of bond cap and approval by the Department of Budget and Finance and the Governor. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends an extension of the deadline to issue HMF bonds for the project to December 31st, 2023, and to authorize the executive director to undertake any and all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. Developer is present with us today to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you, David. Is there any questions from the board?
Actually, it's probably for Marianne. I think she could. She's. Come up. Who's she get?
I didn't hear what the question was.
Good morning.
Good morning. Marion, does she get an EH?
Yes, hi. See you again. Question regarding your building permit. You said you've been in for over a year now.
We have, but we actually just pulled them.
You did pull?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you,
They were approved to issue as of the end of May, and last week we pulled them.
great news. Second question is in your transmittal letter, you mentioned, well, there was actually a request to increase 4% tax credits and bonds, but it looks, have you received other funds because that's not part of the for action?
That's correct. My understanding is that this for action is to make the extent, to request the extensions for the bond and the RHF deadlines. And then next month, I believe staff's intent is to come in and for a request
Okay,
for the increases.
okay,
In addition to those requests for the increases on bond cap and tax credit authority, we have actually secured funding from the city and county, for another $6 million. So that'll be, so that will present next month.
okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right, if there's none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried, thank you. All right, moving on to item 3B. This is to approve an extension to the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent for Legal Finance project located in IAF, Oahu, PMK 199078006. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Carol. Anyone want to give any public testimony on this agenda item? No, all right. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. Again, it's the same project as the previous board action request to Hollywood Eco Highlands. The RHRF award of $23 million, $23,792,353 was originally awarded on July 8th, 2021. The project is seeking approval for an extension of the loan closing deadline to December 31st, 2023. As developer has mentioned, the permits are ready to pull. Bond calls are going to commence shortly. All terms of the RHRF loan will remain the same as originally awarded in July 8th, 2021. Terms of the loan are 0% interim period interest, years 1 through 3, 0.25% interest after year 3, a total loan term of 57 years, no payments during construction years 1 through 3, and after year 3, it'll be 80% of cash flow after senior debt payment and approved expenses. The developer is present for any additional questions, but staff has reviewed this recommendation and is recommending that the board of directors approve the extension of the deadline for the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent to close to December 31st, 2023, subject to the requirements as set forth in the for action dated July 8th, 2021, and authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
All right, thank you, David. Any other questions from the board?
Just to follow up from the previous, so the original, I guess, financing stack, when it was approved, did it include the portion that was going to be contributed by the city and county of Honolulu? How much are they proposing to put into it now? 6.
Right. Any other? Not on favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried, all right. Moving on to item number 3C. This is to approve and accept the resolution number 158, which provides for a fiscal intent with respect to the issuance of Kuala multi-family tax and revenue bond for the college detail one project located in Maui, in a 239-00207. And again, a motion, please.
Second.
Good. Is there anyone that wants to give any public testimony on this agenda item? No, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. PK1 is a 90-unit affordable project for families in Kihei, Maui. It will be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, serving those in the 30, 50, and 60% AMI range, with a 61-year affordability commitment. And we also have 1 dedicated homeless unit in the project. Project was originally awarded July 8, 2021. In the award, the project received $28,800,000 in tax exempt HMF bonds, $2,263,499 in federal LIHTC over 10 years, and state LIHTC over 5 years, as well as a $12,735,000 RHRF loan. The project has received a previous extension from the board, and the current deadline to issue bonds is July 8th, 2023. The project expects to receive all its building permits by the end of Q2 and can financially close in Q3, 2023, with construction beginning shortly thereafter. Project has received its mass grading and on-site grading permits, and they're just waiting for final approval on their vertical permits at this time. The project itself is part of a wider development encompassing other phases 2 and 3, as well as this one. The developers familiarity with the County of Maui's map system and the mass grading permits that have already been issued will expedite the processes on closing any future phases for the project. This project has county support through its already executed residential workforce housing agreement and an additional grant of $3.3 million from Maui's Affordable Housing Fund. The final issuance of bonds is subject to the availability of volume cap and approval by the Department of Budget and Finance and the governor. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends the extension of the deadline to issue bonds to October 12th, 2023. As subject to requirements as set forth in the for action dated July 8th, 2021, and to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. The developers are present with us today to answer any questions from the board.
David? Any questions for the board? Oh, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried, thank you. Right. Item number 3B. This is to approve an extension to the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent for Paleo PKL 1 project located in Kihei, Maui. KMK number 239-002-076. And again, a motion, please.
Second.
Anyone want to give any public testimony on this agenda item? No, all right, go ahead, Dave.
This request is for the same project as the previous for action, Holyoke PKL 1. This is specifically dealing with the rental housing revolving fund award originally granted on July 8, 2021 for $12,735,000. The terms of the loan that were approved were a 55-year loan at 0% interest for the first 2 years and 0.25% interest after year 2. There will be no payments due in years 1 and 2. After year two, payments will be 60% of cash flow after recognized expenses and senior debt servicing. Excuse me. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends an extension of our HRF loan closing to October 12th, 2023, subject to the same terms and conditions and requirements as set forth in the for action dated July 8th, 2021, and to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
All right, thank you, David. Any questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item number 3. So this is to approve extension of resolution, extension to resolution number 172, which provides for this intent with respect to the issuance of full of multi-family taxes and urban bond for the Loa Hale project located in Kime, Maui, PMC number 222-002-072 portion amount. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Sean. Anyone wanna give any public testimony for this agenda item? No, great, go ahead, David.
Thank you. Lilo Hale is a 117 unit affordable project for the elderly in Kihei, Maui. This project is a 1 and 2 bedroom units servicing 30, 50, and 60% AMI with a 62-year affordability commitment. The project was originally awarded on July 14th, 2022. It was awarded $32,727,103 in tax exempt HMMF bonds, $2,533,963 in federal LIHTC for 10 years and state LIHTC for 5 years, as well as a $16,250,000 RHRF loans. The project has received its discretionary approvals. The plans were submitted and building permits are expected in Q3, 2023. The project has a commitment of $4,300,000 from the County of Maui's Affordable Housing Fund. They expect their final permits in Q4 2023 and closing in Q4 2023 and the subsequent start of construction, with completion and full occupancy of the project in Q4 2025. Final bond issuance is subject to the availability of volume cap and approval by the Department of Budget and Finance and the Governor. Staff has received the request and reviewed it and recommends that the Board of Directors approve the extension of the deadline to issue HMF bonds for Lilo Hale to April 14th, 2024, subject to the terms and conditions set forth in the for action from July 14th, 2022, and authorize the Executive Director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. Developer is present with us today to answer any questions from the board.
All right, thank you, David. Any more questions from the board?
I have a question for David. Loan closing is projected for Q4.
44, yes.
And staff's recommendation is to give the extension to April 14th.
Yes.
Is that just to allow for some?
It allows for a little,
time or?
yeah, it's a little slight contingency time, but it also matches the deadline for extension with RHRF Award 2. So both those dates will be consistent, but developer intends on closing in Q4 2023.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 3F. This is to approve an extension to resolution number 181, which provides for the main multi-family taxes and revenue bonds for the Kaiwu O Kapilani project located in Iloho. 324 025 048 053 and 080. Can I get a motion, please? So moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
Anyone wanna give any public testimony on this agenda item? Oh, okay. Yeah, you, David?
Kaiulu Kapiolani is a 64-unit project for families in Hilo, Hawaii. This project is 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units serving 30, 40, 50, and 60% AMI with an affordability commitment of 65 years. The project was originally awarded December 12th, 2019. Project received an award of $17,832,960 in tax exempt HMMF bonds, $1,307,553 in federal LIHTC over 10 years and state LIHTC over 5 years, as well as awarded an RHRF loan of $12,800,000. The board has granted 3 previous extensions. The current extension expires June 30th, 2023. Back on July 12th, 2023, the board approved an increase in the tax exempt bond award limit up to $23,041,000. The board also approved an increase in the LIHTC reservation up to $2,361,268 in federal LIHTC over 10 years and state LIHTC over 5 years. The current extension request is to December 31st, 2023 for the deadline to issue HMF bonds. The project anticipates receiving all its final permits by the end of Q2 2023. They expect to have financial closing in Q3 2023 and begin construction early Q4 2023, with completion in Q1 2025. The project is currently completing additional required easements for the site with the County of Hawaii agencies and other private parties. The County of Hawaii is supporting the project through its Affordable Housing Production Agreement funds and is meeting with the project team regularly for permit tracking. The project is working towards completing its thresholds to meet for HHFDC's requirements to condense bond closing calls. The final bond issuance is subject to availability of bond cap and approval by the Department of Budget and Finance and the governor. Staff has received the request from the developer and recommends extending the deadline to issue HMMF bonds for Kaiulu Kapiolani to December 31st, 2023, and to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. The developer's team is available remotely with us today to answer any questions from the board.
Right, thank you, David. Yeah, go ahead, guys. Thank you, Chair.
I have a few questions actually for the development team. And I did have a few comments. Get around to. So, you know, we're now looking at the 4th request for time extension. What is the status of your building permit issuance?
Yep, I can answer that. This is Grant Bigley from Ikai Kohana and UHC, working with Doug and Tom on this project. But so our timeline for entitlements, we should have building permits here at the end of June. We've been tracking them, for about almost a year now. And we're on track for that. The key here is the financing piece of it. Obviously, just with some background, this is one of our most difficult projects. Obviously, when you see it was allocated into 2019, just, maybe 6 months before COVID. So we went through this whole issue with financing, with our construction numbers, obviously bouncing around a ton. We had to come back in January for some additional credits as well. And we probably should have done the extension at that time in January. So that's where we are now. But in terms of entitlements, and I know you mentioned the easements as well, those are all wrapped up. I know we've got one outstanding because, it's already been signed and everything, but there's an exhibit that needs to be revised. So in terms of entitlements, we're in a good place. It's just the financing side of it.
Yeah, because I've been trying to measure your progress based on your transmittals. I went back and looked at the transmittal letter from last year, dated May 3rd, 2022, and at that time you projected building permits in September of 2022. That target is gone, and then you also, with respect to the easements, that the Department of Water and Department of Public Works have requested, several easements, and work was nearly final, and the easements have been drafted into the county's review and approval. That was over a year ago, and those easements aren't complete yet. I guess the recordation, at least, of those easements. So I'm having a hard time measuring your progress, is what I'm saying. And then you mentioned also the subsidy layering review that requires HUD approval. I think that's for project-based voucher. That the
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
and how long ago did the package go to HUD for their review?
In terms of the subsidy layering, that, that was done last year, but, we had a hiccup in terms of a publication that needed to be done at the beginning of this year. But we confirmed that again, consistent with our timeline. I know this year's a little bit different, but we're on track with the subsidy layering. All the form, everything has been approved by HUD in that sense, but it's, the final approval, the stamp, because after the publication, that's where we're at. But in terms of the numbers, again, that has been finalized.
So I guess my question is, are you going to be able to close this project by the end of the year?
We're going to be able to close. We're going to do it. It's, again, this is our toughest project that we've had. It's gone through a lot. We've had some hiccups because of financing. Again, we should have gotten this extension in January when we applied for the additional credits. But we do anticipate closing on time. Again, a key for us is the bond council. A big issue is this, the sequential order of this. So I know we publication that needed to be done at the beginning of this year. But we confirmed that again, consistent with our timeline. I know. Sorry, I'm getting some background noise. I don't know if you guys are, but no, we will. Yeah, no, we will be able to close this. It's just the timeline should have been extended again in January, not now. We shouldn't have been doing this now. We should have done this in January, but this is our last shot at it, and we know that. But we're on track again. This project has gone through a lot the past few years. Again, we were allocated in 2019. In this sequential nature of the permit, we need the permits before we start the bond calls. And I know that's important. But that's also a challenge for us because the County of Hawaii also has a sequential order of things where, we need to finish plan approval and have plan approval before we even apply for building permits. And we went through that whole process. So we're near the very end of this, but we're planning to close. And I know this community needs it. So, we're doing the best that we can.
We're hoping for your success. We certainly need the units. I guess my comment I wanted to make to the board on this project, this is the fourth extension request. The board's been very patient and cooperative to help this project succeed. And I think, in my view, this should be the last one. I don't think we should entertain another request for extension from the developer, but I do think we should ask staff to come in later in the year, possibly November or December, to give the board a status update on where things stand.
Yeah, I agree. We wanted to see it in person, but if it can be done, then we should, that's one. The project. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? 3-9. Thank you. Okay, so I guess I could recommend that, J.P. Moore, Dr. Timur is attending virtually. And I guess before, Jay, is there anyone attending at your place right now?
No, just me.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All right, moving on to item number 3G. This is to approve an extension to the rental housing revolving fund letter of intent for the Kaiolu Old Kapiolani project located in Hawaii, in 324-025-048. 053 and 080. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you, Carol. Anyone wanna give any public testimony on this agenda item? No? All right. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. This is, again, an extension for the rental housing revolving fund award for the previous project, Kaiulu Kapiolani, that was originally awarded December 12th, 2019. The current extension expires June 30th, 2023. Project again requesting an extension to December 31st, 2023. The original RHRF loan award was $12,800,000. Terms of the loan were a 57-year loan term, 0% for years 1 and 2, 0.25% interest after year 2, no payments during construction, which would be years 1 and 2, and after year 2 is 65% of available cash flow after senior debt service and recognized expenses. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends extending the deadline to close RHRF loan to December 31st, 2023, subject to the requirements in the for action dated December 12th, 2019, and the same approved loan terms, and to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
All right, thank you, David. Any other questions? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to item number 30H. This is to approve an extension to resolution number 183, which provide both visual effect with respect to the May multi-family taxes and revenue bonds for the Halava View 2 project located in IAOL AMA 199003026 PPR number 0002.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone want to give any public testimony? For the second item? No? All right. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. Halava View 2 is a total 302 unit affordable project. Families in IAFOA. It consists of studios, 1, 2, and 4 bedroom units serving 30, 40, 50, and 60% AMI with a 56-year affordability commitment period. This project was originally awarded on July 11th, 2019. At the time of award, it was 2 separate projects with 2 separate awards. The total of both awards was $80,200,000 in HMF taxes and bonds, a total of $5,255,000 in federal LIHTC over 10 years and state LIHTC over 5 years, and a $42,300,000 RHRF loan. The project formally combined into one project known as Halava View 2 on March 9th, 2023, at which time the board granted an increase to the LIHTC reservation up to $7,999,563 in federal LIHTC over 10 years and state LIHTC over 5 years. This project is currently on its bond calls right now. All permits have been received. All documents are finalized and signed, including the Affordable Housing Fund contract and loan documents from the city and county of Honolulu. The project has set a closing date of June 14th. Final issuance of the bonds has been approved by the board. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends extending the deadline to issue the bonds to July 14th, 2023, subject to requirements as set forth in the for action dated July 11th, 2019, and to approve, authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. So this project is ready to close. The current extension is just expiring 6 days short of our closing date. So we're just granting the extension for the amount of time it would take for any and all possible contingencies, but we are committed to close. All departments are ready to close on this project, and the developer is present for any questions.
Any questions? No. I think that we're gonna close.
It's like right there. I mean, we cut it too little too close on the timing the last time.
Science.
Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, hearing none, thank you. We have item number 3I. This is to approve an extension to the rental housing revolving fund letters of intent for the Malaba View 2 project located in Naya, Oahu, KK 199003026 CPR number 0002. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Either way. In a second,
Second.
John? Anybody, want to give any public testimony on this agenda item? No? All right, go ahead, David.
Thank you. This is the same project, Halau View 2 as the previous for action. The RHRF award again was originally awarded July 11th, 2019. Combined RHRF award loan, $80,200,000. This is a 55-year approved loan term, 0% interest for years 1 through 3, and 0.25% interest after year 3. There'll be no payments for years 1 through 3, and after conversion, 55% of available cash flow after senior debt servicing and recognized expenses. Again, project is set for closing June 14th, and extension is just to the current expiration date. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends the extension of the deadline for the rental housing revolving fund loan for Halau View 2 to July 14th, 2023, subject to the requirements as set forth in for action dated July 11th, 2019, and to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
All right, David, thank you. Any questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 3. To approve an award of the federal state low-income housing tax credits from the state's 2023 volume cap to fund Kaleo KL 3 located in Kihei, Maui, KK 239002076 CPR number 0004, and 2 villages of Laupua 3 located in Kailopono, Hawaii, KMK 374028 0086 through 0107 and 0109 through 0118. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Lee. Anyone want to deliver any on this item? No? All right.
Thank you. Before I begin, I want to make sure I recognize the outstanding work of the finance branch, specifically Jay Nakamura, Sonny Kam, Kan Chung, and Chris Oakes, and the development branch for their assistance, Albert Palmer, Yvonne Berezinski, and Heather Murakami for their assistance in putting together all the scoring and working collaboratively extremely well to come to this point. We're pleased to announce our first 9% LIHTC awards of the 2023 funding round, Aliopi 3 in Kihei, and the villages of Laupua 3 in Kailua Kona. Some background on the program. So HHFDC publishes its qualified allocation plan, which includes all the criteria for evaluating and allocating LIHTC. The QAP also includes the procedures to monitor compliance of all projects that receive a LIHTC allocation. In order to qualify for LIHTC, all projects must meet the requirements under IRC Internal Revenue Code Section 42. Some highlights: LIHTC is only available for units rented to low-income occupants. The project has to meet one of two criteria: either 20% of its units rented to households at 50% or less of AMI, or 40% of the units rented to those at 60% less of the AMI. Restrictions on low-income rents are based on the number of bedrooms in a unit and adjusted by utility allowance from HUD. The projects must comply with the rental rate and household income restrictions for a minimum of 30 years for Internal Revenue Code Section 42, and all units must be made available to the general public. HHFDC evaluates projects to award the minimum amount of LIHTC for a project necessary to make the project feasible. Every year, there is a limit on the amount of 9% volume cap allocated to each state. For 2023, Hawaii received $3,960,539 in federal LIHTC to award. And this is based on per capita multiplier from the IRS based on population. So the deadline for applications for the 2023 funding round were all received on February 17th, 2023. HHFDC received 9 applications for a 9% LIHTC award, requesting a total of $11,838,367 in federal LIHTC over 10 years and state LIHTC over 5 years. On page 2 of the 4 action item H, in alphabetical order, you can see the applicants for 9% LIHTC. So as mentioned, the development branch also received copies of the applications for their review and scoring as well. HHFDC used the criteria and guidelines from a published and approved 2022 to 2023 QAP to evaluate the applications. In the QAP, it is detailed below on page 3, section 3B. I want to point out that the point system in the QAP is an important component in determining the project ranking. However, the point system may not be the sole determining factor in LIHTC awards. In addition, we may consider other relevant factors deemed to be in the net best interest of affordable housing in the state of Hawaii. You can see the items below that are considered: experience, financial condition, and performance of the project, related developments, timing of the project, tenant health and safety, at-risk conversions, current housing inventory, keeping in mind affordable housing policies both at the state and county level, operating budgets, and market conditions. There is a minimum threshold that must be achieved in order to be considered for an award. All 9 applicants met the minimum threshold requirements. They were scored, and the scoring is listed on page 3, section 3E. Projects are listed in alphabetical order in the table. Along with these requests, HHFDC also received corresponding requests for rental housing revolving fund resources, and those were evaluated as well for minimum threshold. With the foregoing, HHFDC recommends 9% LIHTC awards for the aforementioned projects: 1, Holyoke 3, and 2, the villages of Le'opua 3. The recommendations are based on the factors in page 4, section H. So the first project list that will receive an award is Holyoke 3. This is a 36-unit project for families located in Kihei, Maui. It features 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units serving 30, 40, and 60% AMI with an affordability period of 61 years. The applicant is and developer is Ikenatea Development LLC, which is a partnership between the Hawaii Community Development Court and 3 Leaf Holdings Incorporated. The total project costs $26,934,910. The costs come out to $748,000 per unit, $1,018 per square foot, which is below the average for the 9% pool of applicants this year. In addition to the LIHTC and RHRF requested, the project will utilize home HTF and home ARP funds, as well as an affordable housing fund grant from the County of Maui. The project will feature 4 2-story walk-ups, a picnic area, community room, high-speed internet access, a community garden, and bicycle storage. The market study for the application indicates there is more than adequate potential for affordable housing demand in the 30, 40, and 60% AMI range in the primary market area. Staff has found the project is feasible and all assumptions are reasonable. The project has executed its residential workforce housing agreement with the County of Maui, and a FONSI report was published in April 2013. This is the 3rd phase of the 3-phase project, Holyoke 1, 2, and this is phase 3. And today we have our developer present to give a short presentation to the board on their project. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, directors. This is the third and final phase of our three-phase Hollywood PK project, which will comprise of a total of 223 units when complete. So we're excited now that we're able to be considered for a 9% award. Over there, thank you. The project partners at Kennekia Development, Patty Tancayo and Chris Flaherty. Cully Watson used to be a member of HCDB and a partner with us, but now that he's with DHHL, it's Patty and I and our children leading the charge forward. So we also have Mark Development as our property manager in this project as well. As seen below, we've created about 3,500 units in totality over 25 projects in Hawaii to date. It's located on the corner of PK Ave and Liloa Drive in Kihei. And as you can see, as indicated on the next screen, it's a third and final phase. It's a much different product, which I'll walk you through. It's a townhome product consisting of 36 units, 3 8-unit buildings, along with one 12-unit project or building. The total of 4 buildings, as I mentioned, they're townhomes. There's 35 affordable units and 1 manager unit. The affordability period is for 61 years, catering to 30 to 60% AMI. The total development cost of $934,910 is part of the Moss general contracting company. They're 1 general contractor, 1 civil engineering contractor. All of our costs have been completed and the cost reviews have been completed, and we're sitting in really good shape in terms of our needs for the capital stack. As you can see, this is the townhome rendering. Also some renderings. We did receive support previously with both phase 1, 2, and included phase 3 from the Kihei Community Association, the South Maui Advisory Committee, and the County of Maui most recently with their HTF home and home ARP soft loans of almost $3.4 million. We also received an AHP grant of $1.9 million, just about. The economies of scale in this project, being able to complete it as part of phase 1, 2, and 3, it saves us in excess of $1.5 million through developing the projects on a parallel track. We do have all of our mass grading and infrastructure permits approved. And so we will be beginning our working plans to be able to submit for permit in November. We will be able to complete a lot of the work on the on-site mass grading, as well as the detention basin for both the north side of PEK and south side of PEK, which benefit phase 3. So it saves time by eliminating mobilization and redundancy and work to be performed. Here is the schedule. As I mentioned, the mass grading permit issue was issued in April of this past year. There is a NEPA with respect to the HUD funds that were most recently awarded, which the County of Maui is taking on the responsibility of processing, and they anticipate an October 1st completion. We will be able to meet the 10% expenditure of eligible basis by next June. The building permit application, as I mentioned earlier, will be in November 1st. We will be submitting the permit review under the expedited permitting process with the County of Maui. And one note I will say is the County of Maui has been excellent, both the mayor's office as well as the Department of Housing, in helping us through the expediting process. It's a new system. It's an online system, MAPS. It's taken our architects and the design teams a little bit to get used to, but the sequential order of going from phase 1 to 2 to 3 in the permit application process is going to be streamlined because we now understand it much better. We expect the financial closing July 8th, commencement of construction with a notice to proceed in July 15, and a construction completion of July 10th of 2025 with place in service. We expect 20 days thereafter, and then 100% lease up August 15th of 2025. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer any of them.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right. Is that for the- okay.
Yeah.
There is no second. Is there any,
Okay, thank you. So our second awardee for today for 9% LIHTC is the Villages of Le'opua 3 in Kailua Kona, Hawaii. This is a 32-unit family project serving 30, 40, and 60% AMI. These are 3 to 4 bedroom, single-family homes with a 65-year affordability commitment. The developer is A0733 Kona LP. The total project cost is $27.2 million, which comes out to $850,000 per unit and $533 per square foot, which is below our averages of our applicant pool this year. In addition to LIHTC equity, the project will utilize senior financing and a $3 million grant from DHHL. This project will be, again, 32 single-family homes, and it will operate as an affordable rental project for 15 years, followed by the sale of the units to existing tenants or qualified buyers per the DHHL guidelines following the for sale model in their previous projects. As for the demand on the project, the 60 units in Villages of Le'opua Phase 1 were completely rented out in 25 days at an average of 2.5 units per day. So based on this 100% absorption rate for Phase 1, a similar absorption rate is expected for Phase 3 with few or no vacancies in the project with below market rents in the area. The project is feasible. All the assumptions are reasonable. The project is a DHHL rent to own project as part of DHHL's Villages of Le'opua Master Plan in the Village for Ka'au section. The previous 2 phases, 1 and 2, have been approved for building permits. The 2 on each exemptions are not required. And the project has completed a lot of its site work by DHHL, and the contractor is already in the field for Phase 2 in terms of readiness. The developer is with us remotely today to give a presentation on their project. Grant, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Hello, everyone. Again, this is Grant Bigley from Ikaikohana and UHC. So this is the Villages of Le'opua Phase 3. As David mentioned, this is the first 2 phases. The first one was 60 units, second was 24 units, and which is currently under construction. We're about 6 months in. We had the financial closing of that one at the end of last year. So now we're looking to Phase 3. And you can go ahead and move on, whoever. And so just a little background about our company. Ikaikohana is our nonprofit developer. Baloo is our developer that has a lot of, financial and development expertise, and started here in California, and we've expanded from there. So we have a lot of people over here with that expertise. 3150 is a new management company with a vision to help individuals and communities thrive. That's a relatively new company. We've actually, within the past few years, we've been able to create it just with the number of units that we have in these 2 states, California and Hawaii. So you can move on from here. Just quickly, a little bit of experience. We are at this point familiar with the market. We do a lot of work primarily on Maui and Honolulu, and now the county of Hawaii. So we're looking for a few more projects over in the county of Hawaii here pretty soon. So you can go ahead and move on. So a little bit of background about this project. We had this development agreement with DHHL back in 2019 that covers all of Village 4. We decided to separate it in 3 phases. Like I said, 60, 24, and 32, which will make up the full 116 units. All of them are single family homes, 100% affordable, 30 to 60% AMI. And that should serve the surrounding community, public safety, retail, anyone who works in the area and within those income ranges. And this is also an option to purchase program. So it'll be a 15-year compliance period, a rental period. And this is important, it's obviously something we're going through already for Phase 1 and soon here for Phase 2. But there is a education process that is necessary, given that these are mostly, new home buyers. So We do a lot of education programs, which is important. But as soon as that 15-year rental period commences, they'll enter into a lease with DHHL because it is remaining DHHL land. And then obviously the sale price will be dependent on the unit and the person living in there. So we don't need to go into those details now, but we have them if you need them. And just a quick map to give you an idea of where it's at. You'll see in yellow is the first 60 units, the blue is the second phase, and the red is the third phase. So that this third phase will essentially complete this Village 4 development agreement that we've got with DHHL. So we're hoping to complete this little community. And just a quick site plan, we've moved this to primarily 3 and 4 bedroom units because that's what we've seen. That's where the demand is with this market in this area. It seems like people are focused on these 3 to 4 bedroom units. So that's what we focused on here. And just a quick update on the rents and the household income. As you can see here, they'll change slightly based on the person, obviously, but for 3 and 4 bed, we've got anywhere from $440 per month to $1,300, and that's net of utility allowances as well. Just a quick financing note. We have LIHTC equity. Obviously, this is a 9% project, and we also have some DHHL funding as well. They put some money into this project. Our HRF funds as well, a construction loan, and we added a Ikai Kohana loan to make the money work. And just some pictures of phase 1 completed units, which will be most likely what phase 3 will look like. So you can just flip through these 4 or 5 images just to give you an idea of what these tenants will get. And that's it. I appreciate the time, everyone. I'm here for questions as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Grant. So following the 9% award, LIHTC award recommendations, we'll be left with $1,701,075 in federal and state LIHTC remaining. HHFDC intends to utilize the remaining balance towards awarding an additional project at the July 2023 meeting. Any carryover remaining will be carried forward to 2024 for future allocations. Any applicants failing to receive a 2023 LIHTC award may choose to reapply for 9% LIHTC consideration in a future identified funding round, subject to the availability of funds. The staff has reviewed all these requests and recommends that the Board of Directors approve the award of federal and state 9% LIHTC to the following projects in accordance with the QAP and subject to the terms and conditions specified in this section, Section 2, subsection E, and Exhibit F of the for action. First project, Holly OPEK 3, an allocation of up to $1,057,464 in federal LIHTC over 10-year period and $1,027,464,000 in annual state LIHTC over a 5-year period. Total fees paid to the developer for the project, including but not limited to project overhead, developer fees, consultant fees, and project management fees, shall not exceed $1,512,626. Second project, Villages of Le'opua 3, recommend an allocation of up to $1,232,000 in annual federal 9% LIHTC over a 10-year period and $1,232,000 in state LIHTC over a 5-year period. Total fees paid to the developer for the project, including but not limited to developer overhead, developer fees, consultant fees, and project management fees shall not exceed $1,537,202. And request to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
Any questions for the board? All right, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. I guess we're approaching the 1 hour mark on, do we take a break? 2 minutes, 10 minutes, is that? 10 minute break, back at 10? Okay, all right.
So I'm working.
We need to.
It is a step. I told him, it's a lot of work. I told him.
And it's really just one person. I just want to make sure that-
So I gotta be careful.
Down within the state.
Yeah.
You know, because this really, it's a benefit to the county.
Yeah.
It's for the county.
It is,
But it helps us, it does help us too with things like, these extensions where they need additional bond.
Yeah.
We could use it for that.
Back to order.
Is there anything in there
Almost
that's
there.
substantial? Is there anything?
Thank you, everybody. So we are on item number 3K, right? 3K. So 3K is to approve a rental housing revolving fund project award for the Holly Oak IKEA project, IKEA 3 project located in PA Maui. KFK 239-002-076 CPR number 0004. And I get a motion, please.
So
second, sure.
Anyone want to give any public testimony on this agenda item? No, all right, David.
Thank you. This is the corresponding rental housing revolving fund award for the previously awarded Holyoke PK 3. They submitted their application, including their HRF loan request on February 17th, 2023, requesting a loan of up to $6,742,414. Staff has reviewed the application and the request and recommends the following rental housing revolving fund loan terms. Recommending a 57-year RHRF loan at 0% interest for the years 1 and 2 during construction, 0.25% interest after year 2 after conversion, and an origination fee to be paid at closing of 0.5%. The first 2 years will be no payments. After year 2, it'll be 60% of available cash flow after payment of expenses, senior debt service, and other recognized expenses. The RHRF loan will be a junior loan on the project site. Other terms, the project's loan to value ratio shall not exceed 100% of the RHRF loan and all other debt senior to the RHRF loan. There will be no disbursement of developer fees until satisfactory completion of the project. And the RHRF project award is always subject to the availability of funds. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends that the HHFDC board approve a rental housing revolving fund project award of $6,742,414 to the applicant for Holyoke PK 3. Subject to the authorization and approval of the governor for the proposed project and the release of RHRF program funds as mandated under chapter 15-311 of Hawaii Administrative Rules. Also subject to the execution of documentation satisfactory to HHFDC, outlining the terms and conditions of the project award. These documents will specify the standard terms and conditions as required to meet all statutory requirements of the RHRF program and the specific terms and conditions that are applicable to the project's request and project award funds. Completion of all documentation necessary and required to secure the release of RHRF funds and certification of the applicant to comply with all applicable statutory and program requirements, including but not limited to chapters 343, 103D, and 104, and chapter 103-50 of Hawaii revised statutes as they may relate to the use of state funds. The total fees paid to the developer for the project, including but not limited to developer overhead, developer fees, consultant fees, and project management fees, shall not exceed the amounts indicated in the applicant's consolidated application and in this for action, and subject to the availability of RHRF program funds. Also requesting authorization for the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
All right, thanks. Any questions? No, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Hearing none, all right, motion carried. Moving on to the 3L. This is to approve a rental housing revolving fund project award for the Villages of Liverpool 3 project located in Kailua, Hawaii, PNK 374-028, spots 006 through 017 and 109 through 118. Can I get a motion, please?
Sure.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Sean? Anyone wants to give any public testimony for this agenda item? No? All right, go ahead, David.
Thank you. This is the corresponding RHRF award loan request for the Villages of Le'opua 3. Again, application was received on February 17th, 2023. Requesting a loan of $750,000 from the rental housing revolving fund. Staff has reviewed the application and the request and is recommending following loan terms. A 57-year loan, 0% interest in years 1 and 2, 0.25% interest after year 2, with a 0.5% origination fee paid at the time of closing. There will be no payments due for the first 2 years. And then after year 2, payment will be required at 75% of available cash flow after the payment of expenses, senior debt, and other recognized expenses. The loan will be a junior loan on the project site. The project's loan to value ratio shall not exceed 100% of the RHRF loan and other senior debt to the RHRF loan. There will be no disbursement of developer fee until the satisfactory completion of the project. And the RHRF project award is subject to the availability of funds. Staff is recommending that the Board of Directors approve the RHRF project award of $7,650,000 to the applicant for Villages of Le'opua 3 with all terms and conditions as prescribed in section 3G of this for action. Also subject to the authorization and approval of the governor for the proposed project and the release of RHRF program funds as mandated under chapter 15-311 of Hawaii Administrative Rules. The execution of documentation satisfactory to HHFDC, outlining the terms and conditions of the project award. The documents shall specify the standard terms and conditions as required to meet all statutory requirements of the RHRF program and the specific terms and conditions that are applicable to the applicant's request for project award funds. Also requiring completion of all documentation necessary and required to secure the release of RHRF funds and the certification of the applicant to comply with all statutory and program requirements, including but not limited to chapters 343, 103D, and 104, and chapter 103-50 of Hawaii Revised Statutes, as they may relate to the use of state funds. The total fees paid to the developer for the project, including but not limited to developer overhead, developer fees, consultant fees, and project management fees shall not exceed the amounts indicated in the applicant's consolidated application and in this for action, and the award is subject to the availability of RHRF funds. Also requesting and recommending the board authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action.
All right, thanks, David. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. As a lease to own program, 15 years, I like that a lot, by the way. I think it's a great way to get housing sooner and get people housed and then give them the opportunity for ownership. At 15 years, and correct me if my assumptions are off here, but you got initially about $239,000 per unit of rental housing revolving fund money investing in this project. I'm assuming that as these units close after 15 years, there will be a pro rata repayment of the rental housing revolving fund.
Yes, so the developer anticipates that the sales of the units will repay the entire RHRF loan So as that loan is, as each unit is paid and bought, there's a partial release done on that particular unit and it's paid down.
So that kind of leads me to the question I really want to ask, and that is, if there is someone who is residing there who is not ready to convert to ownership, or is not interested in converting to ownership, there will be a balance of housing revolving fund money
On that,
not paid through a sale, and who would service that?
Us.
You know,
it's,
if that were to happen,
Yeah.
I guess that's my question.
Grant, if you're still with us, I believe that would still be serviced by the project as if the whole project was still a rental project in the future, and serviced through it'll be serviced through the debt service of the project. So the project is feasible for the entire affordability period and the term of the RHRF loan. So if that were to happen, RHRF can still be serviced through the regular the net operating income. So it's not as if the project is totally dependent on each unit being completely sold. That is the intent. That is based on the market study. Those assumptions are very realistic. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Any other questions? No? All right, if not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right. Thank you, David. So moving from item 3M.
Chair,
Yes.
can I make a recommendation? Can we
Yeah.
just defer M and N and just move to O? Because I know we have a lot of people here that are willing to, and I know these are more discussionary for some training that we did. Maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah,
could
no,
take it up at a later date.
We want here, I mean, because this, I know, because there was some communication to me for some of the people that wanted to testify, like brought at 30-ish,
Oh, okay.
but if they're all here, then. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can get started and maybe, yeah, it'll be definitely be 10:30 by the time we get through it, so. I think that, yeah, sure, we can take it out of order.
David?
It's fine. Yeah, thank you, David. So, okay. Right here?
Right there.
Okay, right, so, okay, so, let's take, out of order. And then, so item 3O, this is a discussion on the status of these renegotiations for the Waihole Valley Agricultural Park and Residential Lot subdivision located at Waihole, Oahu, KK 148 variance. So this is just discussion. You don't have to- But, okay, so you wanna say something first, or shall I take public testimony first?
It's up to you, Chair. I have nothing to say. You can go ahead and take the
Okay.
public testimony. I think we got a roster.
Yeah, I
of,
believe we do.
roster lineup.
I guess we'll take the public testimony first.
Unless you.
Yeah, yes,
Okay. Chair.
yes.
Paul Wang, who is the Vice President of the Waihole Waikani Community Association, right behind me, he actually suggested that staff make its presentation and then the association members provide testimony after the presentation. That's the suggestion.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Does anyone have a list of who signed up for? Yes, we do have a list. Oh, yeah, okay, so maybe after that, if we go down the list, then.
Sure. You might want to restate the rule because I think half these people weren't in there.
Good idea. As I get right after this. We can go restate.
Apologies, I do have a hard stop at 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is the
I think it's 15 signed up.
Right.
This is again the speaker. And I'm looking at like, I can't see the camera. I thought that was a speaker, not a camera.
I think it's
It's both.
Cheaper.
I don't think you can see the eyes.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can see it up over there. Like when you talk, it goes on.
It's up there.
No, this side has two legs. The eyebrows.
Yeah.
We get-
Well, that's why it looks like, oh, that's why.
I don't think they have the eyes.
Oh, they don't have that.
You have eyes?
Oh, you get that?
Yeah, yeah.
No, we have two eyes.
Peoples and everything.
Okay. All right, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Welcome Director Tokioka to the board.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Woodard. I'm the Chief Planner for HHFDC. I'm here to provide an update on the status of lease rent negotiations for the Whiteholy Valley Agricultural Park and residential lot subdivision. Pleased to announce that staff has completed 33 of 91 lease rent renegotiations. We actually came to agreement with 3 additional lessees since this board report was put together. That's 36% of all lease rent renegotiations that were required to complete in Whiteholy Valley. Of those, 12 of the 53, or about a quarter, were for residential lot leases. 20 of those, or a little over half, were for agricultural lot leases. And we have 2 commercial lot leases in Whiteholy Valley. We've come to agreement with one of those lessees on rents. So as a result of the year-long lease rent renegotiations, we've set rents for small, medium, and large lots in Whiteholy Valley, for residential lots, for agricultural lots, for one of the commercial lots. So we've set rents for a wide range of lot types in Whiteholy Valley, and effectively have set rents for all the leases. All of these rents were set according to a formula. There are a couple of deviations from the formula that are not material. And that allowed HHFDC to achieve its policy goal of treating all lessees equitably. We do have some upcoming key trigger dates for the residential lot leases. If the parties are unable to agree on a renegotiated rent by July 1st, then the matter must be settled under an arbitration process that's mandated under the lease and actually codified as Hawaii Revised Statutes, section 519-2. The agricultural lot leases, we've got a little bit more time. We have until August 1st. And under those leases, we're actually required to submit the matter to mediation before going to arbitration. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the proposed subsidized lease rent program for residential lot lessees. We're of the understanding that a number of lessees in Whiteholy Valley are of limited financial means and may or will be unable to pay rents at the levels that were established through the year-long rent renegotiation process. As we discussed very early on in the rent renegotiations here in this room in executive session, a subsidized rent program for low-income residential lot lessees should be established now that rent levels have been set. And we've been working to develop that program. Under the proposed program, if you make up to 60% of the area median income, you qualify. And that 60% area median income is published by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. And that's the household income group that we believe should be served by the program. And just for context, for 2023, the numbers just came out from HUD, I believe last month. A 60% AMI limit for a family of 4 is $78,600 per year. HUD considers a household to be cost burden when it spends more than 30% of its income on rent, mortgage, and other housing needs. Staff believes that Whiteholy Valley residential lot lessees should not be cost burdened. The Whiteholy Valley residential lot leases are ground leases, and land costs obviously only account for a portion of total housing costs. Staff estimates that in Honolulu, typically about 30 to 40% of total housing cost is in fact due to land cost. So using the above elements, so the 60% AMI gets into the program, you shouldn't be cost burdened. and only a portion of the housing cost is attributed to land. Under section 2C of the for information or for discussion, I'm sorry. We present an example of what the rent might look like under this subsidized lease rent program. And the example is as follows: if the household makes $50,000 a year and they qualify, the subsidized lease rent would be $437.50 a month. And just to put that number in context, the residential lot lease rent renegotiations that we have completed have ranged from $330 a month to an average of $769 a month. So this is on the low end of that range. We are working on the program details. We do need to promulgate administrative rules. So I would expect that staff will bring draft rules or proposed rules to the board likely in August. I don't think we'll be able to do it in time for the July meeting. Assuming that the board approves the rules, we have to hold a public hearing. And then the governor actually has to adopt the rules. So we're not anticipating that this program will be stood up until late in the year. As I mentioned, we've got deadlines or trigger dates coming up. So for the residential lot lease lessees, we have a correspondence ready to go. It should go into the mail tomorrow. If you haven't come to agreement with HHFDC on your new lease rent, and you believe that you qualify for this proposed subsidized lease rent program, and you intend to apply for the program when it's up and running, we have a form. You can provide notice to us that you intend to apply for the program, and we will not proceed to arbitration with you until the program is established, we receive your application, and we either accept or reject your application. That's really all I wanted to say, Chair, today. That's the update on White Valley. Happy to answer any questions that you or the board may have.
And I guess, should we, someone before we start?
I just have a quick question. We talked about the cost per the standard that's used 30%.
Yes.
So we're talking about land or lease rent renegotiations, but for those who also have a mortgage for their vertical improvement.
Yep.
Would you factor that into the cost for the 30%?
So the mortgage payment should really come out of the balance of 65%. That, you know, the cost for the improvements, either a lessee owns the improvements free and clear of a mortgage, right? So they were paid for with cash, or they may have a mortgage, you know, maybe some sort of combination of mortgage and cash. If we, you know, change the formula for lessees who have mortgages, and I'm not saying that we can't figure out a way to make some sort of tweak to the formula for those lessees who have mortgages, but if you think about it, if you own your home free and clear, you paid cash for it, so there's an opportunity cost.
My question isn't really about those.
Okay,
who may
sorry.
own free and clear, it's those who may be carrying a servicing
Okay.
mortgage.
Yes.
That's really my-
So our expectation at this time, it would not be, it's not factored into the equation as written.
Okay.
That's not to say that we can't consider it, and we do intend to have meetings with the community to get some feedback on how the program is to be designed. So what I'm presenting to you today is a proposal. It's a rough framework, but it's certainly not the detailed final proposed plan.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just have a real quick question. So, Chris, you said 33 of the 91, you completed the negotiations with that.
Correct. We've reached agreement on rent. We haven't necessarily fully documented everything yet, but we're in the process of that.
Okay, so why did we start that before he's doing this? Because now we're talking about, you know, cost burdens and all of that, so I don't understand why we didn't do this first.
So the idea, because,
Sorry.
no,
I'm new.
yeah,
I
you've missed about a year,
Yeah.
year and a half of history here.
Sorry, but I just trying to understand. Is that the end I'm gonna have to vote? So,
Yeah, sure. The leases contain no provision in them that states that the rent is to be affordable. So the leases actually provide, that if you go to arbitration, the rent is to be set at a market rent. Market rent is significantly higher than the rents that we've agreed to with those 33 lessees. So early on, we made a decision to offer rents that were substantially below market, about half of market rent, and we negotiated downward from there somewhat. So the idea was to set the market for those who can actually who can afford to pay the levels of rent that we desired. And then, but we did recognize early on that there is a subset of the lessee population that, you know, they may be of lower income and that we would have to establish a program for them later. So not everyone, I think another way to answer your question, what, you know, why aren't we just doing it based on cost burden? Part of it is that we actually, again, the arbitration language calls for market rent. We weren't seeking market rent. We negotiated down from there. And then not everyone in the lessee pool would actually qualify for the subsidized lease rent program.
okay, and then one last question, and I apologize, Chair. I know I let you know I have to leave by 11:30. So that's why I'm not sure I'm gonna get to ask these questions afterwards. And I just have one more. So is there another comparable? Because when we talk about treating lease rents equally, is there another area like Waiole that we have the same type of arrangements with?
We do not. We own land in other subdivisions that have completely different types of leases than the Waiole leases.
So no other place in the state has anything.
Nothing comparable to this. This is very unique.
Okay, thank you, Chair. That's all.
Right, okay. Right, so I guess let's start the public testimony section. Del, could you just go over the rules one more time? Yeah.
Let me go over the public testimony.
Yes.
Because I don't think everybody.
Yeah, some people weren't here.
Okay, fine. For any of these, you will be presenting oral testimony. Your testimony will be limited to 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, I will call time. And when I call time, you will have 15 seconds to complete your testimony. And all of this is, of course, it's subject to the discretion of the chair. But I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. You didn't think I was being rude when I spelled out time. But anyway, those are the rules for public testimony. Okay, everybody clear on that? Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
So you ready?
Yeah, I mean, so
I have the list, so I
Yeah.
can start going.
I know some of you have already signed up, but if anyone hasn't signed up, please sign up and then we'll go through it in the order of I guess whoever signs up. And I guess every once in a while we'll check online to see if there's anybody online that wants to give any public testimony, but I guess we'll start here. We'll take the first two, so I guess.
Okay, the first witness testifier is Paul Z.
Also, again, we asked for a little discretion. We worked hard to keep 3 minutes, but
Well, that's up to the chair.
I understand. Somebody else discretion.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Zwang. I'm a landowner in Waikani and a member of the WWCA. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'd like to present a brief update of where I believe the negotiation process is from the standpoint of the WWCA. I'd like to start out by quickly saying that the affordable leases signed in 1998 gave Waiahole a new lease on life. Pardon the pun. Affordable leases kept the community intact, which is a great benefit to the state. Today, only 33 of the 91 agricultural residential lots in Waiahole have been settled. We need to finish the job. We are pleased that 18 farmers have settled, allowing them a degree of financial security to continue to farming in this Green Valley. But we must recognize the other farmers who cannot afford the financial terms contained in those 18 settlements. Many of these farmers are generating losses. They will suffer even greater losses with the proposed tripling of the dwelling rent and the doubling of the farm acreage rent. The potential for displacement of these farmers is high. We must work to prevent this outcome. Regarding the residential leases now, we applaud the HHFDC for acknowledging that the costs paid to the HHFDC constitute but a small portion of the tenant's total housing costs. Today, Mr. Woodward, presented a subsidy rent program based on applying a modified 30% rule that takes into account property taxes, liability insurance, and other items comprising approximately 2/3 of the total housing costs paid by the lessees. But more work remains to be done. Mortgages need to be considered. There are too many kapuna living in severely deteriorated homes. We need to tweak or modify the subsidy rent program for those so that they too can live in dignity. And finally, we must discuss what I'm going to call a discrimination being put on the residential lessees who do not qualify for this subsidized rent program. They are being asked to pay double the rent hike, double that the farmers are being asked to pay. A rent hike that is 5 to 6.3 times their current rent. That's an awfully heavy burden to shoulder, especially since property taxes, insurance, and home repair costs continue to skyrocket. And why we hold our farmers in the highest esteem. These residents should be treated equally and receive the same rent hike, not the same rent hike. Last week, HHFDC staff informed us that negotiations have ended. I just have,
Can you finish up?
yeah.
Please, go ahead.
How can that be? There are still issues to resolve. But why holy community deserves that we put forth the effort to address these issues. Let's continue to make fair and affordable housing rents available to all tenants, but support Governor Green's #1 priority to serve and expand affordable housing in Hawaii. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laverne?
Good morning.
I guess, can you just state your name for the record?
yes,
before that?
it's
Okay,
the- And he's gonna say go.
Yeah.
Talk fast. Okay, good morning. My name is Laverne Fukunaga Tawamoto. I'm a 3rd-generation resident of Waiahole Valley. I am a retired DOE career and technical education resource teacher from the Winter District. And raised on a farm, I learned how to use tools that laid the foundation for me to become the first DOE certified industrial arts teacher in Hawaii. That is something I am proud of, being from Waiahole. In the early 1940s, my Tokunaga grandparents moved from Maui to Waiahole Valley. They had raised already 9 children, and my father was the eldest. So my father moved us, my 5 siblings and me, to Waiahole. And together with my grandfather, my uncle, and the rest of my siblings, we worked on the farms after school and on weekends. You know, I always knew I had to go back to Waiahole and take care of my parents. And when Hurricane Eva destroyed our home, we couldn't get a loan because we were living on a rent-to-rent lease. So with my father and mother's meager income and a lot of help from family and friends, we were able to build a small Hicks-type home, 3-bedroom. Since then, every home improvement that I've had to make has come from savings and hard work, because we can't get a loan. That meant farming again, working 2 to 3 jobs, and having to sell homemade things at craft fairs and at the swap meet. You know, when my parents needed extra care when they got older, we didn't send them to a nursing home. And we took time as a family to care for them because we loved them at home. Okay. So after years of hard work, of being a good citizen, a good community member, a good taxpayer, and trying to live a self-sustaining life on my small lot. I thought I could relax and finally have a good, simple life. Oh, okay. So while I was trying to remain calm and pragmatic through this past year with this rent negotiation, I feel that HHFDC has undervalued me as a person. I feel that I haven't been treated fairly. And then, you know, like who makes Waiahole a wonderful place? It's all of us in the valleys, okay? Okay, real quick, it's been a privilege to live in Waiahole. Every chance I get, I invite people to experience my garden, my home, and my rascal little dog Milo. And I offer you, everybody on this council, I invite you to come to Waiahole. Come visit me, come visit my home, and see how we live as a community. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shadia?
Oh, so nervous. Members of the board, WWC, and everyone in attendance. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Zaria Manalo. I currently reside at 4816 Waiahole Valley Road. Why? Because we are Ohana and no one is left behind. Many of us in our valley have been faced with one hardship or another. Some are dealing with tragedies and lost ones. Many of us came home just to have a roof over our head. Thank God for my mom who engraved it in our hearts, reminding us constantly to love one another. She never turned anyone away. We are not asking for handouts, but what is fair and just across the board. Today I am here, but tomorrow I may not. Many of us who move home are transients. We too want to be on our own one day and live life to the fullest. But how can we make it when we pay land taxes but don't own the land? We pay for $1 million liability insurance so we can cover HHFDC or the state. We used to pay $29. I remember my mom used to pay, but now we pay $800 because they don't carry that kind of insurance to cover liability here. Where landlords normally pay for home repairs, HHFDC doesn't. We have to. The saying, when it rains, it pours, it sure does. It storms right into our life. Just to fix rotten steps last week, it cost me over $200. And I'm lucky because I have a carpenter in the family. And then the same day, the ceiling fall in my bathroom. How awesome is that, right? Over $3,000, we got to come up with the money up front or make a loan, which puts us more in debt. But lucky I have a carpenter and a plumber that can help us. We don't have to pay high cost thousands of dollars for their labor. With the high cost of building materials today, many of us cannot do home repairs and live with buckets in our houses to catch the rain or patches of wood here and there to keep the cats and chickens out. The struggle is real. That's life. But you know what? My parents taught us how to make do with what we have. We do what our parents did, budget and stretch our meals. We do not live fancy lives, but I'm so grateful for a place to lay our head every night. We live with love and gratitude to hold our families together. And if you see us with fancy things, it's not because we got money. We were blessed by God to me. He provided when there was a need and he strengthened us when we were weak. I pray that God puts love and gratitude in HHFDC hearts so that they too can be fair and just in making their decisions for increasing our rents. I pray that HHFDC open their eyes and ears to hear our cries and for fairness. I pray that he blesses everyone in this room and with love and gratitude. I leave you with this saying, the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. Is it really so? I wonder. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
She's Portuguese, she might need 6 minutes, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. I didn't prepare a speech, so I'm just gonna. I've lived in Waiholi Valley for over 50 years. My husband and I raised 3 children. And he was a carpenter in the valley. He did all the repairs, everything on a house that we had. But apparently he got sick. So I no longer had anyone to repair my house. And then he passed away in December. My house kind of deteriorated. I had Niagara Falls in the kitchen, but I didn't leave the house. I didn't mind. I said, eventually, maybe somehow, some way, I'd be able to repair the house and everything. But I had one problem. I'm a senior citizen and I only have one income. If I was to pay any of the rent that was offered, that Chris talked about, would take most of my Social Security. That is why right now, people in the valley are all like family. They don't bother anybody, but they all nice people. And like you have someone invited you to come and like the bird said, come in the valley, look, don't assume everything is okay. The valley is really nice. There's a lot of tourists that come in and they really enjoy coming into our valley. But if we have to pay some of the rent that was, at least that was offered to us, you know why Holy Park outside? That's where I'll be because I won't be able to afford it. But my speech is short. That's all.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Patricia Pilon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Aloha kakayaka. My name is Larlie Uemura. I'm here on behalf of my parents, Lawrence Uemura and Helene Uemura. They lived in Waihole Valley for over 50 plus years. And they take care of and pay for all the costs and repairs and the upkeep of all that they have built on this property that they are so blessed to live on. They are living comfortably and simply with just what they need from Social Security. We all know that cost of living here in Hawaii is already so high. Stop and help us preserve our land. And don't be the reason for homelessness, but be the reason for hope. Hope for our kupunas, hope for our keikis, hope for our mo'opunas. None of us want to move away from where we were born or raised, but you are pricing us out of our paradise. So we humbly come here to ask of you, HHFDC, not to be the problem of homelessness, but be of affordability, that you will help us to preserve our lands, that you will reconsider Waihole Waikani Community Association's offer, which is very reasonable for each of us that live in Waihole and live in Waikani, which is our paradise. And yes, this is a unique situation. We would like to keep it unique. Uamau ke'ea o ka'aina kapono. The life of this land is perpetuated in righteousness. Proverbs 21:21. He who follows righteousness, mercy, finds life, righteousness, and honor. May God bless us all. Aloha, mahalo nui. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for this opportunity to listen to some of my concerns today. My name is Kathy Oshiro. I have lived in Hawaii for almost 50 years, and I am a Waiahole Valley Lisi. My greatest concern that I bring to you today is staff's second and final offer to me. A 530% increase in rent. And also now an anticipated subsidized rent program offer at a 230% rent increase to me. Whether it's 200 or 500%, I can't afford it. I am a 74-year-old retired non-pension preschool teacher. A 200 or 500% rent would force me out of my home because I can't afford it. When I computed my exact housing costs using the real HUD 30% rule, I found my HHFDC rent should be zero. Zero. But with staff's subsidized rent program, he still insists increasing my rent by over 200%. I can't afford it. This is not affordable housing. But this just isn't about me. This is also about my ohana, my neighbors, and all of us in the valley. We are not rich in money, only rich at heart. Increasing our rent is such an unjustified and unaffordable amount. It will force many of us out of our home, out of our community. Just as other government and financial entities utilize the nationwide 30% rule, I beg you that HHFDC use everyone's itemized housing costs, utilities, property taxes, etc., in your proposed subsidy rent program. So then you will truly understand our situation. Please, finally, please accept WWCA's most recent counteroffer. Please rule as your predecessors intended back in the 80s and the 90s. Rule with humanity and with your heart, not with your purse strings around our necks. Thank you.
Marco? Did I get that right?
Marco.
Thank you, HHFDC board, for having me here today. My name is Margo Mendoza. I was born in Lanai, raised in Hawaii, and now I live in Kaneohe. Kathy is my mom. Today, staff says they've concluded 33% of lease negotiations. Today, staff says rent levels effectively have been set for all leasees, allowing HHFDC to achieve its policy goal of treating all leasees equitably. We disagree. Staff states 33% is a good representation of all Waiahole Valley residents. 33% is a good representation of 100%. This is absurd. Staff is implying 33% represents the majority. 33%, that's not even half. Since when is majority below half? Only 33% have concluded lease negotiations. That leaves 67%. 67% is more than half. That's the majority. Let's hear them. Let's listen to them. The 67%, the majority. Negotiate with the majority. Regarding unaffordability of higher rents, staff states today, detailed recommendations regarding program terms and conditions are still being considered. Yet staff also states today that as discussed in executive sessions with the board of directors, the board early in the negotiation process, a subsidized rent program for low-income residential lot leases should be established. Early on, staff addresses that this subsidy rent program was needed. Yet, nearly 12 months later, staff has no assistance program set in place. How can lessees sign and agree to something that doesn't even exist? This is absurd. I ask you, board, look at the 67%, the majority, the WWCA, who have negotiated well, honorably, and in good faith. Accept their most recent counteroffer. Mahalo for your time.
Annette and Rose.
Aloha, my name is Annette, daughter of Wenceslao and Betty Bartolona of Waikani Valley. My family was asked to offer our testimony on why low-income housing is necessary for Waiahole Waikani Valley tenants. The rent negotiations is only a small part of the tremendous burdens we are already having and will be faced with because of the limitations and bylaws of the current the current lease. We are not the owners of the land, but under the residential lease, we are held solely responsible for all maintenance and repair costs, the property taxes, liability insurance, and rising utility costs. We also pay for the damage of our house by flooding that happen almost every year, partially caused by the unmanned river next to our lot. No one has ownership of that river to monitor except for my family and the surrounding community. I mention this because the lease cannot be used for any equity loan or any type of borrowing, further emphasizing that all improvement or repair to the land and home are paid out of pocket by the tenants and my family. My 98-year-old mother remembers how my father built our home more than 70 years ago there. He laid the pipes to bring running water to the house on his own, then worked the land to make it livable. We learned hands-on survival and cultural practices. To farm the land, we lived there as farmers, then as residential tenants for many years. Now we have kupuna to care for, our house to repair, land to maintain, families to raise, jobs to keep. In perspective, the state seems to be fighting the hardworking hands that feed it by adding more expenses to our humble island lifestyles. The expenses of the lease requirements include the estimated cost of $25,000 to purchase and install septic tanks, which our family is expected to finance, as well as the cost of installing safety accommodations for our own kupuna. All this among the rising cost of living in Hawaii. The operating cost of the state have quadrupled from $250,000 to $1.1 million per year. However, the state should not be balancing their books on the backs of the Waihole Waikani tenants. We look forward to completing the rent negotiations for appropriate low-income housing rents and look forward to continuing our diligence in taking care of our precious valleys with confidence that the effects of the increasing cost of living and higher rents will not cause us to end up homeless. Our country lifestyles demand our energy, our time, our money to preserve the life and beauty of this land for generations to come. Ua mau ke ia o ka aina I ka pono. You know what that means. We preserve what we have as much as we can in our small place. Mahalo for listening.
Nelly,
What was your last name?
My name is Barcelona.
is Nelly here?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Nellie Dono. I have lived in Waihole all my life. I am the 4th generation. Same lot, Waihole. My son will be the 5th and my granddaughter will be the 6th generation. My parents knew all the Waihole neighbors. Since my dad worked for the poi shop. Both of my grandfathers worked for the poi shop. My great uncle of my maternal Tutu Waihini also lived here. I being the newspaper delivery person in my teens, I really got to know our farming community members. Seeing the farmers toiling the soil from daybreak until the sun sets. The gifts Waihole and its members has fulfilled and cherished my growing up years, from hiking in the valley to the pines, or ocean mornings looking for glass balls. Mr. and Mrs. Kaya in their mud patches pulling weeds or plowing with their water buffalo. Memories catching tadpoles from their taro patches, catching opu, prawns, and pantat, which is catfish, with crayfish raw tails as bait with my bamboo pole. I want my son and granddaughter and generations after them to experience my experiences. Predominantly, Waihole has Okinawan farmers. 8 or more of these farmers are still farming today. I have more poi shop and swimming Waihole River memories to share, but time is limited. In closing, I'm in gratitude for my kapunas from Waihole, the past Waihole community members that has guided us, led us, and protected us to still be in Waihole. Thank you very much.
Kevin G.
Aloha and mahalo for your time. My name is Kevin Tolentino. My testimony is geared to reflect a little more on the cultural practices and aspects of our valley. I'm a residential leaseholder in Waihole Valley. My family resided on this island spanning back to 5 generations that I'm aware of, and maybe even more. My grandfather farmed kalo and worked at the koi factory back in the days when the fronting land next to the highway was abundant with taro patches. My grandmother worked as in the industrial sector producing sheet metal. However, her passion was enjoying her space doing the things she had learned from the kapuna, such as lei making, la'au lapa'au, Hawaiian medicinal plant knowledge, and the cultivation of native plants and their usage. And her yard was a testimony of her love for her culture. She loved preparing meals in the way that her kapuna did, later gaining the reputation as a kulolo maker in the community. Many of her sisters and brothers had the same impact through their own mastering of hana no eao or their cultural trade skill. As a Native Hawaiian and community member growing up in the valley, I have lots of respect for the farmers of Waiahole because the nature of their work upholds principles and values of Aloha Aina and Aina Aloha, especially if they're working with kalo and native plants. Also, through their efforts, they ensure the continuity of other cultural and customary practices passed down to us from our ancestors that once lived and fought for these rights to live here. I currently work for the GOE as a Hawaiian studies teacher. My life entails many traditional practices, and just to mention one, it includes the access to spaces on this island, which my grandmother pointed out to me as a child when hiking around the Mauka regions. Although I am not harvesting in the same fashion our farmers are, I believe that what I offer the community is a result of my experience growing up in this space. Therefore, I feel in all due fairness, as a resident of Waiahole, that I should too be eligible to receive same rent agreement as a farmer in Waiahole, and that HHFDC should support me in the preceding negotiation process to be fair to all. Thank you.
Aloha. Aloha. How you guys all doing? How about a big round of applause, everybody, for being here? Come on, make some noise. Aloha, aloha, aloha. I come with all the love and spirit in my pu'uvai, my heart. Uhane, my spirit, my lavena, the ano that glows. I was born and raised in Waiahole Valley. Vai. Waiahole, Waikani, vai. In Hawaiian, vai means to be treasured or rich. I draw the ko'olau mauna and the water that flows from the mountain to the sea, which nowadays, as we all have kuleana, take care Mother Earth. It's bigger than, these are the people that raised me right here. I just turned 50, everybody. Come on, big round of applause. Well, you know what 50 means, right? 50 means I'm the guy in the middle. I got 7 children, all different last name. I love them all. It's all good. But 7 beautiful children. When I leave the valley, my mom is Pat Pilang, right there, Kaleo Pilanka. Whether I'm on radio, whether I'm on TV, whether I'm speaking in person to others, whether I'm up in front of people with the governor or the mayor here and there, or with my people of Waiahole, Waikane, I never change. No matter where I stay, Waiahole Valley has always been embedded in me, the vai, to be treasured and rich. Not money, not nice car, not raised Toyota truck, not house, but the ahupua way of being Kekanaka, Hawaiian. Hawaiian, my heart, soul, spirit, because we're all different cultures. That plantation boy. So bringing that wherever I go was because of Waiahole. And all I ask for is fairness. Yeah, in all of this is being pono. That way you can sleep at night, negotiating with our kupuna. Mom cannot afford it right now. I have kuleana. We all have kuleana. So I want to help mom, but I have kuleana. So as 50, help my kuleana, help mom, help everybody, help our valley. So I just ask for fairness, to be pono, affordability. I was 3 years old when I was with my mom holding her hand with long ago in the 70s. My dad was in the front row. And I see all the meetings about development, all the development, high-rise concrete, but the development of Waiahole, to keep it the way it is. To keep our honua, Mother Earth, better than we left her. Waiahole is unique, Mr. Tokioka, yeah? And that's why no more any other way to compare and contrast, because Waiahole is unique. I was there at 3, I'm here at 50. For my kupuna, for my keiki, next generation, so that we can live way. So we can still live on our aina in a simple way. I'm a resident, but I'm also a farmer. All the ike that I've learned, being in the kalo, being in the ocean, it's so important that the water flows from the mountain to the sea, so that we can still have the ecosystem of old Hawaii. The fish come in, eat all the nutrients, the old gold will grow, the corals will be alive. But once you break the water, vai. And we just focus only on building. I know homelessness is high, and we're here to help with that as well. But I want to see my ohana become homeless from the place that I grew up. And whether I am on TV or radio, that don't matter. I just know in my spirit, when I leave this world into Keakua, into Amaloa, that all the things that I've learned from all the people of Waiahole, vai. Everyone say vai. We can all apply that in all of our lives, having to be treasured. It's not money, it's not the nice house, it's not the nice car, but it's time together, smiling, living, loving, laughing, old Kani Kapila style. You guys all welcome to come to Waiahole. I lived 2 miles up, growing up, off the grid, yeah, Waiahole, off the grid, growing up all my life. I was shamed.
people come to my hale because, I'm a nice hale, but it's not about the hale. We live simply off the aina, off the land. We take care of ocean, we take care of fresh water, we take care of each other. And that's what Hawaii is. I have my hat Hawaii because Ha is the breath of life. We breathe that in. Vai is the life-giving water. And E is the creator. And we can apply that into all of our lives because we all are Hawaii. We all are Vai, Waihole, Waikane. Yeah. Aloha, everybody. Mahalo nui. Can I get it?
I don't know how to beat that guy. And thank you all for allowing us all in. Aloha kakahiaka. My name is Tony Kano. I'm a resident of Waihole Valley. I've been told that you, the board of directors, wants the resident tenants to pay the substantially higher rents than the farmers pay. When we asked, the response was, why would we have to pay more than the farmers? The response was, particularly during times of natural disasters, because there, the farmers' individual experience with tools and equipment. I want you to know, board, my ohana has been mowing the grass along both sides of Waihole Valley Road, the North Branch Road, for over a decade. My husband brought his own machine over a decade ago. I buy gas, I buy oil. I'm the one out there making sure that our area is taken care of. So it really got to me when I heard that the board is not supporting us because the farmers have the equipment. My husband has been taking care of that side of the road, not Sunshine. It's my husband, my son, a Hawaiian man driving a John Deere lawnmower that I brought 7 years ago to care for our valley. So it's personal to me. We deserve, all residents, to be treated just like a farmer. So please don't do that to us. When you hurt us, you're hurting us. We all are one family there. My husband and my family is not the only one. Our residents in the valley include an array of useful laborers and skills like home repair and maintenance work, and many who are ready to jump in and help when we need the help. Is it right that the residents pay higher than the farmers? I don't think so. We also have teachers and school administrative caregivers, all women who are dedicated their lives to educating the keiki, helping the sick and the mentally challenged. Is that right that these women pay higher and nearly twice the rent of a farmer? Ole, I think not. Our kupuna lives on 2/3 of the resident leases. They cannot farm even if they wanted to. Is that pono that they pay more because they cannot till their yards? Discrimination, whether based on sex, age, and occupation, has no place here in Hawaii, as you all know. Let's put a stop to this. Rents was set at a formula, Chris says. I was just listening to your presentation earlier before us and seeing how beautiful these new homes look, and while much needed for the island, affordable homes in Hawaii. But how can you all agree raising our Waihole Waikani rents, almost market rents, when all of us are living literally in old disrepair plantation style homes that we took out our inheritance, our monies to repair it? I don't get the picture. Okay, so please reconsider, take a look at WWCA's proposal and accept the offers, but please do not treat us any different than a farmer. Mahalo.
Justin,
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Justin Saito. I'm a 3rd-generation farmer in Waihole Valley. And my grandfather started the farm in the 1940s. They grew sweet potatoes alongside of his oldest son until he passed away of cancer. Then his oldest son took over the farm and took care of his youngest 3 siblings. There were 8 of them total. And his mother, who at this point was an old woman, and she would every day faithfully push her wheelbarrow down the road full of fruits and vegetables to try to scrape together whatever little money that she could to help support the family that was left behind. And, now I'm here 3 generations later, trying to perpetuate that. And if that story sounds familiar, it's because it's the story of the sweet lady of Waihole. And that is the legacy that I have to this valley. I have some concerns about our new agreement, things like we have large sections of marginal lands, many of us farmers. And, it's not like we don't want to try to farm these lands. We stay away for good reason. They're dangerous. My mom's oldest brother died trying to clear the large albizia trees on a slope, and the tree is still there today. I don't want to go down there. That's, it's scary. We have other concerns, Sorry, I didn't write anything down. I wanted to speak from the heart and how I really feel about all of this. This land is my legacy. I want to perpetuate it. If the saying goes, you get what you pay for, the inverse should be true as well. You should pay for what you get. It goes back to the 70s. I saw an article where it described a lot of Waihole Valley as billy goat land, or land that can only be traversed by a billy goat, right? This is something that haven't heard before. For a long time, we've been paying for that marginal land, but with this rent increase, where does it become unequitable? I hear equal and equitable a lot. Yeah. So what is equitable about paying for marginal lands? And on the other hand, what is equal? I've seen in our new agreement that they're going to raise our farmers' rent to the 660% if we don't fall within the compliance. I know that the Mahiai group doesn't have that, and that's not on that level equal, right? So what is it, equal or equitable? And I gotta choose, yeah. Sorry.
You're doing great.
Really should have wrote some more of this down. Those are kind of my big concerns. We're looking for security. That's what our ancestors, my grandparents, were looking for when they took this on, not for themselves, but for the future of their families, to be able to build up. That's why they built their house. And when I first moved in, it was in pretty bad disrepair. I spent the better part of 3 years living in a pretty beat up house, trying to fix it up slowly on what I could scrape together with what was left of the farm and what I could work off at Times Supermarket in the late evenings and nights after I'd spend the day working on the house. And now when we're getting back to the land and turning it all over, it's hard for new farmers. I'm 3rd generation, but I'm a new farmer. Things are different. There's new bugs every year. We always hear coconut rhinoceros beetle. Ask a farmer 50 years ago to tell you what is that. Lace bugs, all kinds of new diseases. What are the markets? The markets are vastly different than what we've learned through generational knowledge, and yeah. Thank you very much for your guys' time. I appreciate you.
Your ag land is considered.
So for mine personally, 1/3 about. I have 16 acres, 15.9, but 6 of them are unusable. Thank you.
Morning, board. Aloha.
Hello.
My name is Norman Satayama, a farmer for 45 years in the Waihole Valley. I recently found out that the government in Japan valued the farmers so much that they are given second priority in receiving funding from the government. We are not valued in Waihole Valley under HHFDC. I have been paying lease rent for unusable land for 25 years. Of the 47 acres that I lease, only 10 acres are farmable. Because we are in renegotiation for our leases, I felt this is the best time to bring this issue to your attention. And I'm confident that you will make a fair decision. I brought my situation up to Chris Woodard, and he said, I said, why should I pay $200 per acre for unfarmable land? His response was, we have to be fair to everyone. Who is everyone? I'm a farmer too. I asked him how this was fair for my situation, and he said, from the roadside, it looks flat. Then he said, we will go to arbitration. How unreasonable is this comment? As he is willing to spend taxpayer money and my money for a problem that is obvious and that can be settled reasonably and fair. This has been the pattern with our new renegotiation with the HHFDC leadership. Take it or leave it, causing pressure, anxiety, and stress to all, especially our kapuna. The meaning of renegotiation is discussion aimed at reaching an agreement, not threat. Our negotiations has been far from this. In fact, it has been, this is HHFDC office, no discussion. The WWCA steering committee and our lawyer Dennis King represent most of our residents and farmers. The steering committee has been undermined by Chris Woodard and Lee Miller by going to talk to residents who we represent. Another issue is the raising of the annual percentage lease rent to 1%, which is another way to squeeze the life out of a farmer. On one hand, the government speaks of promoting local agriculture, and on the other hand, they say, give me part of your gross income. This should be done away with. It's not fair. Please try to understand the small-time farmer. Take into consideration location, weather, amount of sunshine and rain, the terrain, amount of farmable flat land. Farming is up and down. We have good years, we have bad years. When a farmer has a bad year, he's optimistic and looks forward to having a better year. And if he has another bad year, guess what? He still looks forward to another good year. Farmers put their sweat and blood in the land they farm. Farmers are struggling even more now because of the pandemic and the struggling economy. Even though our struggles, we contribute tons of produce to Hawaii. All right, thank you.
So I just want to let the chair know and everybody in the audience, I have to leave. I let the chair know. But Chair, it's my understanding that we're not voting on this issue today. This discussion. So this will come back when myself and Debet will be here, but I just wanted to thank you all from WWCA for making my first meeting a memorable one. And thank you for the opportunity, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, no, Ryan, not here.
I'm here, but. Oh, okay, Darlene.
Right.
First and foremost, I want to thank you folks, Jeff, for allowing us to share. I have nothing written. It's all gonna come from my heart, you know. My name is Darlene Matayoshi Yoshizumi, and my dad, over 80 years ago, cleared the land that we are currently farming. Farming, I don't know, if you want to be rich, I tell people, don't be a farmer, because you know, it's such hard work, it's laborious, but it's, you know, you're helping people, you know, helping Hawaii to be self-sustainable. And we just love it, you know. My sister and I, we look at each other. I said, I'm 69, you're 76. What are we doing here? You know, we're arthritic, our hands are sore, our bodies are sore after doing all of this. But it's the love of the land, you know, our parents had done it. My mom, was a sweet lady of Waihole, and she did not, although she qualified in the biggest way for government assistance, food stamps or whatever, but she refused, okay? She just worked hard so that she could feed us. And, you know, she instilled that in us, you know, that we should be self-sufficient. And, you know, the farmers, gosh, the cost of our fertilizers has doubled. to maintain farm equipment. Our tractor is aging and almost on its last legs. My sister and I, a lot of times put in our own money, so, we had jobs, I have a pension and, we put in, and I don't tell my husband I'm taking pension money to spend on the farm. But, because we love this land so much, all we ask for is fairness, because it's just barely keeping our heads above water when, trying to do this. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Lucy?
Are we gonna work my glasses? I think I'm the last I got it.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Aloha and good afternoon. Is it? Morning. Dear directors, you need to be aware of the Waiahole Waikani Community Association and its residents and farmers' perception of HHFDC's rent renegotiation as disappointing, dilatory, discourteous, and in order to understand why we're all here today, that HHFDC has only concluded negotiations with 1/3 of the lessee in a year and still has 2/3 without any agreements. First, because the typical lessee in the valley is a blue-collar worker or farmer, WWCA has assisted its members in retaining legal counsel and an appraiser to help its members evaluate HHFDC's offers and to respond to them. And in doing so, WWCA members appointed its attorney to negotiate on behalf of all of us, our members, consistent with HHFDC's procedure. But HHFDC disregarded those appointments, notices, and has negotiated around their appointed negotiator, by contacting the lessees directly in order to give them short response deadlines, scare us with threats of arbitration, and deprive us of advices. Second, since December 23rd, 2022, HHFDC has only made a single settlement offer to each of the residents and a single settlement offer to each of the farmers, with the exception of the proposed rent subsidy program to the residents with low income. In doing so, HHFDC has wasted the lessee's time and pushed us and pushed the negotiations to the brink of costly arbitration. On December 23rd, 2022, WWCA made counteroffers on behalf of 27 residential lessees and followed up with a counteroffer on behalf of a 28th residential lessee on January 26th. These counteroffers were largely based upon affordability, as the lessees were generally unable to afford the high increases in lease rents proposed by HHFDC in its initial offers. The original lease rents in these leases that began 25 years ago were all affordable rents for the first 15 years, and then again another 10 years. But for the next 15 years, the renegotiation timeframe that we are now in, the lease rents are permitted to jump up to fair market value, according to the leases. The dilemma is that the bulk of us, our lessees, cannot afford fair rental values and should still be paying affordable rents. On January 20, 2023, HHFDC's council said our offers were unacceptable. HHFDC extended its original offers through February 15, 2023, noting that if we would not accept it, then HHFDC must proceed to arbitration. On May 1st, 2023, thank you, or 4.5 months later, HHFDC finally sent counteroffers to the residential lessees. Counteroffers made minimum reduction in its original offers, thereby leaving most, if not all of them, as unaffordable. And there's dates to go on, but because of the time, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up and close it for you. Thank you. Finally, on May 22, HHFDC made the counteroffers to us, but to the farmers by proposing rents on more onerous terms than the 3.0x deal that HHFDC made with the 10 Mahi'ai farmers, In doing so, HHFDC ignored WWCA's appraisers. We had an appraiser hired. Conclusion that unusable land leased to WWCA farmers due to excessive steepness, water containment, or poor soil should be discounted as non-farmable. In my closure, HHFDC need to recognize the material differences between profitability or productivity of the Mahi'ai farmers and the profitable operations of WWCA farmers, which is the second factor in the farm lease formula for new rents. HHFDC should recognize that it needs to actually negotiate in good faith with us and not just talk about negotiating or repeatedly threaten us with arbitration. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the extra time, and God bless you all.
Thank you. So yeah, I just want to give one more opportunity for anyone else. Online, if there's anyone else, please raise your hand or signify. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being patient with us and providing your testimony. I really appreciate it. We'll take it.
Thank you.
So, forgot we deferred, now we gotta go back to the. Might as well get through those. Yeah, I got another.
So now. Road charge.
Yeah, we went out of order, right?
Road charge that we pay.
Everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. We know who testified. Our best. We can send an email with the testimony.
Sorry. She's gonna be scanning.
You too.
Hey, Rick. How are you?
No, he might talk.
He's trying to get us.
Oh, okay.
To you, to see. Yeah. And that's- those are the
Yeah.
I got that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see. Just on.
Yeah.
Website. Yeah. Language. So did you go like SM? I just want to, the whole idea is say it like.
You have a very hard
Yeah,
job.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your attention.
Need a raise.
Been on for us.
You're if I could.
But that does not go unappreciated.
I forgot, because I was so nervous to ask people, how many of you have been to White Oak?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you all have. Have you been to the individual farms or? I want to personally invite you guys, come see our farm. I buy you guys lunch. The Matayoshi farm, hold on, I don't know the address. We'll find it. Yeah, come on, please. My name, I left my name and number. You guys let me know. I'll buy you folks lunch. We go eat lunch from the toy factory. Yeah. Come.
Thank you. Thank you for the-
Yeah.
Almost.
That's why there's only 4 of us. Yeah, that's right.
Did we create a pick for the ED position yet?
No, I was just talking to James, if you guys want to see this, so he said no, and he said wait, so.
No.
Yeah.
Must be present to win. That's the rule. No,
I think it was just for, because it was Dana that asked to include that,
yeah,
but it wasn't
If you said you wanted to
originally.
go talk-
Yeah.
yeah, you can talk to Dave.
Dave's been-
I'll talk to him.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Chair, does the board have any questions about the White Holy item that I can answer at the moment, or are you prepared to move on?
I know I had a couple, but I know one of them was, so if we wanted to have like leases that are financeable, that would be like a separate lease altogether after this
Yeah,
process.
it
right, that we
would
wanna work
completely
on, right?
transform the lease.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
we need to get through the lease rent renegotiations before we do anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're obligated to do this.
Yeah. So once we do this, then we can work on a lease that might be agreeable or
Yeah.
financeable. If we
Which
want.
is, which was one of the tasks that we were trying to accomplish through the strategic planning process that we started in 2017, 2018, but it was a difficult process, and pandemic came, and so it kind of got waylaid, but, yeah, I think it's one of the items we'd like to pick up and talk about once we get through the lease rent negotiation.
How much of our discussion, if we need to want to have a discussion, we have to go to exec session?
No, only if there's something that's confidential or.
If we need the legal advice, yeah.
You want to
If we
talk
want-
about negotiating strategy or?
Then I would
legal
recommend that we
counsel,
go
then,
into-
Yeah.
yeah.
Executive session. I wasn't planning to suggest that we have an executive session today.
I know it's on the agenda. If.
Yes.
I have a comment and then a question. So since taking this position, the association has been in touch with me, quite regularly, keep providing updates. And one of the questions that I had asked them more than one time was if they would be willing to share their income, the income of their members, to justify asking that their rents be treated as very low, in some cases even lower than public housing rent is. And they refuse. So I haven't asked them recently. My question to you, Chris, is, have they shared that information with you to justify again, that they are?
I would recommend that we go into executive session if we're gonna talk about some stuff, just for the board's own, just protection. If we want to talk about stuff,
I had similar questions, so.
we probably should go into exec then.
Chair, you want to entertain a motion to go into
Okay,
executive
yeah,
session?
I can.
Move into executive session.
I'll second.
Agree on it.
You can just say we're going to go into executive session.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna go into executive session. Pursuant to section 92-583 Hawaii right statute HRS to deliberate the authority of person designated by the board to conduct negotiations to acquire public property or during the conduct of such negotiations and section 92A4 HRS to consult with the board's attorney on questions or issues regarding the board's powers, duties, privilege, immunities, and liabilities as it relates to this matter. Okay, so, can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are in executive session.
Sorry.
We're good. Yeah.
I'd like to thank Chris and his staff for working on this by holy matter and also putting together the presentation, which we're deferring for the next board meeting. Just a few words about the rent subsidy program. Yes, I believe that it is quite fair and generous. It's open to all households at 60% AMI and below, which is even broader than what housing choice vouchers offer, which are targeted mainly at households at 30% AMI, until it goes up to 50% AMI. Also, for comparison for our LIHTC projects, most of those units are set at 60% AMI rent level. So if you're a 30% AMI household and you go into a LIHTC project, you might be paying 60% AMI rent. So it is an income-based program, so we think that more so it is fair to the residents. We are working on the details. We have to work out details such as what happens to those households with mortgages? What are the actual costs that these households are incurring? So we'll work with the community on those details before we bring it back to the board. I'd like to thank David and the finance branch for their great work on reviewing the applications. This was a record year, 31 applications, the most we've ever had. So they did a great job in going through those applications and keeping us on schedule. For development branch, I'll just note that we're seeing a definite uptick in activity. We generally had, 2 to 3 2-1 applications per year. For 2-1 expedited process, we've already had 2 this year. Just last week, we had 2 more applications come in. We have many more calls from developers who are submitting applications. So definitely we see an uptick in activity for 2-1 expedited processing, and for DERF loans also we're getting quite a bit of interest from developers given the higher interest rates that they're seeing on the commercial side. So just overall, we're busy all around at HHFDC. So that is my report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Oh, no? Can I get a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you, everybody.
you.